Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. In this episode I'm going to be talking about Charles Bronson and Paul Sykes. So Charles Bronson has done about 48 years in prison. Paul Sykes, I believe, done just over 20 years. So between them they've done nearly 70 years in prison. And the reason why I'm mentioning these two both together in the same video is because these are the two most notorious or famous prisoners this country has ever seen. Everybody knows who Charles Bronson is. He's that famous. He's had films about him. He's worldwide. And everyone's heard of Paul Sykes. They've heard of Paul Sykes because of his reputation in the prisons and what he used to do. Most of his sentences was for beating up either police officers or screws in prison. And that was the majority of the time he served was for them offences. And he's had documentaries made about him. Yeah, he was an ex-professional boxer. And these two men are the most notorious, famous prisoners this country has ever seen. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because a lot of people look up to these, especially Charles Bronson. I've met lads in the system that have said, "Oh, I want to be Charles Bronson. I want to be the next Bronson." And what have these two prisoners or ex-prisoners? I mean, Paul Sykes is dead now. So what I'll refer to them as is I'll just say, what have these two cons achieved that is so good? I mean, Charles Bronson is famous in his own right because of everything he's done, but he spent 48 years in prison. What has he got to look at his life and think, oh, I've achieved that? All as he's achieved is high prisoner status and high notoriety within the public and the press, and he's had a film made about him, but he's never been out of prison for the past nearly 48 years. So what sort of life is that? And Paul Sykes, he spent 20 odd years in prison. He was an ex-professional boxer. Yes, he's got that, or he had that to look back on and think, well, I've done that. But he could have went even further. He wasted 20 odd years in prison for bashing screws and coppers. He ended up getting out of prison. He was broke. He had no money. He was living on the streets of Wakefield, and he turned into a bum. He was getting griefed off people in the streets. He was homeless, and he ended up dying an alcoholic. And Charles Bronson is 70-year-old. He's got his parole hearing coming up. Hopefully, you'll get some good results and he'll be out in the next couple of years. But what have these two got to look back on and say they've achieved? I mean, Charles Bronson, yes, he's famous, but he's been stuck in a little box for 48 years. Life is for living. You should be out here living your life with your family, not wasting it in prison, thinking that that's the life, or loving the attention you're getting because you're a famous or an infamous prisoner. I mean, like I've just mentioned, there's people out here and even in prison saying, I want to be like Charles Bronson, or I'm going to be the next Bronson. Fucking hell, what sort of mentality is that? What, you want to spend 48 years in prison and become a famous prisoner? Bullshit. No one wants to spend that amount of time in prison. So why aspire to be like these sort of prisoners? They're not good role models. Yes, Bronson, I can see he's a well-liked fella. He's well-liked of all the well-known prisoners. They're like, as you'd say, the celebrity prisoners, the hierarchy. But who wants that for life, you know? Like, I mean, like I say, I've met people that have I've been in prison, I've served time with people that have served time with Charles Bronson, and a lot of them have said, I was a decent fella, but does he sell no justice? But like the purpose of this video is to just say, like, what sort of life is that? Who wants to be known for being a prisoner or for being a famous prisoner? Yes, my YouTube channel is about ex-prisoners, but I'm not coming on here because I'm wanting to be a famous prisoner or famous ex-prisoner. I'm on here trying to educate people, let people know what prison is really like, and try and deter people from going there. I know Charles is doing that sort of thing now. He's trying to deter people, but he's not doing a very good job of it by being stuck in there. He wants to be out here and doing talks, because I tell you what, a lot of people would listen to him. And I bet if he went into, I don't think he would ever get into schools with his background, but I bet if he went and done talks with people, they would listen to him and he'd be able to pass on a lot of knowledge and advice. So that's what he should be doing, instead of sitting in there wasting his time. But a lot of people will be thinking, because I put in the title Charles Bronson versus Paul Sykes, you might have thought this was a bit of a video about who is the hardest out of the two of them. But I didn't know any of them personally. I've heard stories along the way, but I wouldn't say one over the other, because I think they're both in their own right, in their own time, have been hard bastards. But it's not for me to say who's the hardest out of the two of them, because a lot of people on this YouTube just speculate and they make things up themselves along the way and talk about, oh, Bronson's the hardest because of this, Sykes is the hardest because of this. Sykes, he was an ex-professional boxer. I think Bronson's come from a bit of a boxing background and he's fought his way through the system. They're both hard bastards, so I wouldn't say who's the hardest out of the pair of them. I'm just saying they've done 70 years between the both of them. They're both famous prisoners, but what is that to look back on in life? Looking back in life when you're an old man is looking back on all the love you've got, all the family you've got around you, the kids you've created. That's what your destiny should be, and that's what you should be leaving behind, not books and fucking documentaries about how bad you've been in prison. But yes, that's it for that one, people. But like I say, I'll be doing more videos on Bronson and even Sykesy in the future, especially Bronson when he's upcoming parole hearing. But keep an eye on the channel, people. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that button. Take care, everyone.